Hey everyone, welcome to a special Wrestling Figure News interview. My name is Justin Kendall and I am the editor of WrestlingFigureNews.com. And we got a special guest today. We have Mattel WWE marketing manager Steve Ozer, aka Action Figure Attack, the man who helped bring to life the WWE New Generation Arena. Thanks for being here, Steve.
What's up, Justin? Thanks for having me.
I'm psyched to have you here, man. And this is a very different conversation that we're having, or we're going to have, because when I pitched you, this project wasn't unlocked yet.
Yeah, very interesting turn of events, for the positive, of course.
Yeah. So what we have coming now, WWE New Generation Arena, fully unlocked, Ultimate Edition Diesel. We get the ring, the rescaled ring, I should say. We get the gem of the project, the neon entranceway. We get Doink. We get the ring skirts. And if you ordered by August 13th, you get the WrestleMania 10 Ultimate Edition Macho Man and the announcer's table. So how are you feeling today about all of this?
Tired, but great. When we went into to do this project and fully committed, and it was a long time coming, but when we fully committed, we knew that this was really the opportunity for something major in the future, right? Like this is an unlockable in and of itself of future possibilities, right? We know that the Toys R Us era is gone and behind us now, sadly. And, all that shelf space that was there before is now no longer available to us. And now here's our way to make things that would have lived at Toys R Us happen. Because we saw similar things in the past, right? And the door kind of shut when TRU went away. But here we are now able to do amazing things. And the community just really got together in a way like I've never seen before for any action figure line. And I collect practically every line and I'm in the weeds with everything. And I've never seen anything like this, like what we experienced last Friday.
So I know I was hitting refresh every few minutes just to see, and the number just kept going up and up and up and up. What was it like for you? Are you hitting refresh? Are you glued to your phone watching this? How did that go down for you?
Oh, yeah. Refreshing like a maniac, attempting, failing miserably, getting regular work done, right? Attempting at doing things to progress the campaign itself, with some little marketing things here and there that you'll see on social over the next few days still, because we're not done yet. But attempting to work, but really enjoying the excitement as well. And when we hit that 5K, it was like we had launched our space shuttle, it was just like all these people working together, including the collector community, and we made it happen. And then it just didn't slow down. And it was like, we're going to get Doink and we're going to get Doink fast, right? And it's like, we're trying to change asset rollout in real time, saying, okay, we don't even have to push for Doink now. He's unlocked. Let's go to the ring skirts. It's just like this real time pivoting. It was really cool and tiring, of course, but an exciting day. It was really wild.
So if you hit the button that sends this project through, are we fully a go right now?
If there was a button to hit, then you can consider it hit. Now it's like the boring stuff for me of making sure financials are correct and we'll have our final quota after Sunday when the campaign ends, development, making sure that the lights work properly and are ready for manufacture, all that stuff. The less exciting stuff happens now, but there'll be moments in time when we can share the development that'll be really fun and exciting, and those are the moments I'm looking forward to.
There's no turning back though. There's nothing that's going to stop this thing from happening. There's I know Kyle Peterson on one of his videos was like, what if there were bots or something? Is there any conspiracy type thing that could derail this, or are we just on the rocket ship?
I think we're locked and loaded now.
Perfect. That's all I needed to hear about that. So as far as what we as collectors can see going forward, how do you see this sort of progressing? Are we going to get renders in the future? Are we going to see prototypes of WrestleMania 10 Macho Man? Are we going to, where does it go on the collector front for us?
Yeah, we'd like to show you updates throughout this entire process. So there'll be like real legit updates through the website and through emails for backers. And then there'll be some more, on the ground, in the weeds, collector type stuff. If there's something coming this week, we'll give you a sneak peek of something, an in progress thing. And we'll do a combination of both, right? Traditional influencer style, or maybe me posting something, or Bill or something, and then legit official things through Mattel Creations and maybe even WWE. But we want to keep you guys updated the whole time and keep the excitement going, so that you're really ready to go when those boxes start to arrive next summer.
Yeah, I mean, we got a long way to go before next summer when the all those UPS guys are going to be regretting life. So the project reached about a quarter funded when you guys launched it. And then you guys added the Macho Man, the Ultimate Edition, WrestleMania 10, and the announcer's playset. The project seemed to need something. When was it that you realized that the project needed a little extra juice?
After it rolled out, we started getting feedback. Some things we knew we would get, like, a little bit of pushback over the pay up front scenario that was in place. We were trying to alleviate that even ahead of launching. It just didn't work out until we finally were able to do it. Other things, didn't. I mean, we thought it could be an issue, maybe, but we thought maybe at the same time, this being a low run item, people would be more understanding of the price value of this thing, the perceived value of it, and it kind of wasn't there. And that 250 for what you were getting at tier 1 at 5,000 units is legit. Like, what you need to charge for something like that to have it be in the realm of profitability. But the consumer spoke, and they weren't seeing the value at 250 for the entrance, the figure, and the ring. So we did dip into our marketing budget, and we made that marketing budget, work in a way that collectors were able to get behind it and spread the word on this. And it did. I mean, look what happened Friday, right? So I think, that Macho Man pivot, like using marketing money for a bonus that collectors truly benefited from, and it really incentivized them to share this and make this happen. So it was, a little bit into the campaign when we decided we needed to pull the trigger on something of an early bird bonus, which is a common thing in crowdfunding and Kickstarter type executions.
Well, that was definitely a gamble too, because if you don't get to 5K by last Friday, then it's an even bigger uphill battle to get to the 7K threshold for Doink, or the 8K threshold for the ring skirts. But it all worked out, obviously. We're taking the victory lap here. How do you view that risk in hindsight? Was that a hard sell, or was that something, when you took it to, your team at Mattel, was that something that they were like, yeah, we should do this?
For the early bird thing?
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't my idea. I'll say that. An early bird in general, it was discussed early on before we launched, but that was one of our VPs suggested, how about an early bird as something to really spice this up a little bit, and she was right. She was right. If you look at Kickstarter.com, where it explains crowdfunding in detail, you'll see like what early bird offers can really do for a campaign. It's a momentum builder, right? So that's what we needed. We needed something to really launch this with some momentum, and it did it. So it was fairly easy. Like, we talked about it. It was a fairly quick meeting, and then we got the ball rolling on an idea, a concept, what it should be, and rolled it out super fast.
So now that we're able to sort of take a step back and look at the project in hindsight, what did you sort of learn from this that you're going to take to future projects?
I mean, yeah, that particular portion, price value, is always going to be tricky, right? Because some people did see the value and some people didn't. And then people talk about, because it's part of the hobby, they talk about aftermarket value of things like this. They're talking about the value of the entrance itself. So that's just, it's a tightrope to walk. You know, it's very delicate, and you're gonna have to we'll figure it out. But we know that there's value in figures. Like, this is really a figure-driven business. It always has been, you know, WWE. So we know that the figure offerings have to be strong and appealing. That was a big, you know, takeaway from this. Some people are concerned about price. This type of execution lends itself to higher price point items. You know, there's a question mark. What are the consumers willing to spend on something like that? So that's something that we're going to have to, you know, think about a lot harder. But really, it's just like smoothing over some of the speed bumps that we had. Like, you know, if we do an early bird, we launch that right away. We should launch the sale immediately after announcement. That's another thing. That first day that we announced it, on that Monday of that week, there was so much excitement and positive word of mouth going on. And I think the momentum definitely slowed down a little bit by everyone having to wait until Friday when that campaign actually officially launched for you to be able to buy into it. So there's a couple of things that we'll do there. And then, you know, I think the feedback is loud and clear of what people want next for the most part. I mean, I see a lot of requests for figure-based only. I don't think that's going to happen because, you know, if we're going to do figures, we'll just do them. You don't need to kickstart, you know, an NWO pack or something. We'll just make those guys. But as far as, like, you know, future larger scale items and sets, I mean, you know, I think there's a clear path forward of what we should be doing in regards to these crowdfunded executions.
Well, I'm excited to see those. One thing about this project, though, none of this stuff, maybe with the exception of the ring, is ever going to be available outside of this project, right?
Correct. Ultimate Edition Diesel, this is it. Ultimate Edition Doink, most definitely, this is it. Will there be future Ultimate Edition Macho Man figures? Probably, right? But not WrestleMania 10, that's for sure. The ring, I mean, rings are eternal, right? So we'll have to revisit rings. And plus, like, if we do future sets that are in different eras, you're going to want a ring available or parts of the ring available for people who have this one already to have an appropriate ring. So, you know, there's a chance we re-release the ring or re-release or just release new parts for the ring to convert it. We'll figure all that out and we'll make things easy for everybody, but we're not going to force people to do a ring every single time. I do want to mention that.
Thank you. We only have so much room for rings if we can get to, you know, fist stages or WCW Nitro stages and all of that. So I appreciate you keeping us, you know, with a strict limit of rings.
I think, you know, swappability is the way to go for that. And then for those who weren't able to, you know, buy into this campaign for whatever reason, having a ring available in the future so they can start, have a starter ring would be a good idea.
Well, with that, how customizable will the ring be? Is there the possibility beyond, you know, ropes and ring skirts and all the stuff that we know that we should be able to customize with it? Are we going to be able to swap out sort of the ring posts to get sort of that attitude era black ring post look, or even the more modern, they're like a thicker ring post, I believe, nowadays? So will it have that sort of level of customability?
Yeah, the posts are removable. You can pop those out. The turnbuckle covers are fabric. The ring skirts are, of course, fabric. So all that stuff could theoretically be swapped out. So, you know, we're set up for success as far as that goes.
Awesome. At the deadline on Friday for Macho Man, it appeared that we hit the number 8,011. Is that a number you can confirm? Is that accurate?
That seems to be an accurate representation of where we were. Yeah, 8,011. I saw people, you know, I'm active on the forums. I saw people cancel and stuff afterwards. So I don't know how that's going to shake out in the end. You know, that's for, you know, the people who are handling those things to decipher, but we're in roughly that ballpark of 8,011 for sure.
I realize you can't give production numbers, but is there a way to sort of put some context around that? Is that in the range of, you know, a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, or, you know, where does that sort of fall versus a regular edition Ultimate or even an Elite?
Yeah, well, Comic-Con items can fluctuate depending on the item. They are on the low end, right? So maybe you're in this ballpark for certain items. But as far as like mainline stuff, it's very, very low in comparison to mainline stuff. So you're talking about, you know, tens of thousands in some cases for mainline, and here you're not even breaking 10,000. So it is significantly lower than the majority of the mainline items. And
That's good.
think about Harley Race, right? And bring up a horrible subject, but Harley Race was an instance where it was extremely low run, and that's an exception. Typically, things aren't that incredibly hard to get as that flashbacks wave. So everything else, is in the tens of thousands typically.
Yeah, you brought him up. I didn't bring him up. As far as the figures that we are going to get with this, Diesel, Doink, and Macho Man. With Doink and Diesel, are there things that maybe we're not seeing? Like, is Diesel, I've heard some folks talk about his wrist tape or an elbow pad, or maybe even the WWF or WWE Championship. Are those accessories and I guess, deco, will that be on Diesel?
As of right now, no title with Diesel. Obviously, costs are tight, right, with this. So title probably is not going to be possible, but the wrist tape and elbow pad will be added. It is intended, but since those were hand painted prototypes and whatnot, I think the wrist tape got lost in translation, and the elbow pad, maybe they just didn't have one around or whatever. Yeah, so elbow pad and wrist tape confirmed for Diesel. Title with him, I don't think that's really possible at this point.
One question that came up in the Forbidden Figurines forum was they wanted to know if we could see some ring add-ons. Will we see sort of packs with ring skirts and turnbuckles and posts? Are those things that we could see sold through Mattel Creations, or is that something that we could see at a ringside like we have in the past?
It's totally on the table, right? Like with a retail partner like Ringside, there's got to be interest. Like, a Ringside or whoever needs to believe that the item is going to perform well for them, and then they would buy into something like that as one of their exclusives or something along those lines. Mattel Creations is a different story. It gives us a little more flexibility. But once again, do we use that SKU for add-ons, or do we use it for a different execution? That's all TBD. But I will say that there are plans to do things for the ring in general. Obviously, like I said, future entrance stages, future executions, exploring different eras of WWE. We would want to really utilize this ring in some way, not making you buy it again, but utilize this ring in some way and give you the tools to customize this ring to make it era appropriate.
I like that you keep reassuring me that I'm not going to have to buy a ring again because hopefully this is the only ring I'll ever need. So how you mentioned at the top of the show that this really was unlocking a lot of future possibilities. So how should we as collectors sort of view this? I mean, is the door, like, is this forbidden door of possibilities really that wide open?
After Friday, yes. Leading into Friday, I can say that there was, I was nervous, right? Like, I was waiting for this moment for years. We showed that gigantic entrance stage years ago at Access and Comic-Con, and a lot of people were very interested in that. And really, you're going to accomplish something like that through a crowdfunding type execution. It's really the only way now to make something like that happen. So when things weren't going very well, I was like, man, we might not be able to do things like that. For WWE, it doesn't seem like it, because in reality, when you compare like this set to other, action figure crowdfund executions, it was significantly lower in price than a lot of them. And in reality, some of these sets are going to be higher and higher and higher, as we go down the line to more complex sets. So we had to prove ourselves, prove that the fans would back something like this. And keep in mind, they're kind of taking the place of the retailer in this equation, right? So it's like you're cutting that out. In reality, when the business, how the business normally works is you create an item, maybe a prototype, or at least, some design specs, and you start pitching it to retailers, and they crowdfund it basically by saying, yes, we want to take X amount of this. And then you go to the next retailer, we're in on it also. We want X amount of this, right? So now we're just taking that out of the equation, and it's the consumer doing that. So they need to say, yes, we're in for X amount of items and we want this type of thing. And they did it. So now that they did it in a strong way and completely backed the item and unlocked everything in that last day of the Macho Man sale, things are looking very bright, and I do have a much easier path ahead of me when I go to present items like this in the future.
Well, one of the things that really brought it home for me was when you went on the wrestling, the Ringside Forum, and you talked about minimum order quantity. That really sort of, you saying, no, this is what we need to make this a reality. And this is like the bare bones minimum of getting to profitability for us, and making something back on a project like this. Because I mean, Mattel is a publicly traded company. You're not doing the neon entrance way just because Justin wants it, for his collection, or Steve wants it for his collection. There's a little bit of both, but I get something I want, but it's there is a level of understanding of business that was sort of maybe needed a little level of education on this.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if you could just do whatever is needed to feed the demand. If there's 500 people who want a neon entrance, it'd be great if we could just make it and it'd be affordable. But when you go lower and lower in your run, the factory is going to charge you more and more, right? So let's just hypothetically say we chop this down to say only 2,000 units, would be needed. Then your price goes up. So the factory is still going to make this same amount, right? Because it has to be worthwhile for them to set everything up, right? Because they could just do a run of something else, right? It's like, we don't own these factories. These are just factories that, various companies use or whatever. And it's like, they want to maximize their time and everything. So it's like, they have to make it, worthwhile for themselves to even set this up on assembly line process and everything. So why do something for, 2,000 units when there's this other item? Oh, we can run 50,000 of these. And it's just like, you set it up once and you run 50,000. That's much, more appealing to them. So that's why they have these minimum order quantities in place, right? And make sure that it's financially worth it for them at the factory level to even like get involved in something like this and go forward with production.
And we've definitely seen other lines have those issues of getting product out because they are running at such a smaller quantity. So,
yeah, I mean, and you see things get held up like in perpetuity. They're just waiting for enough demand, right, to be placed on an item, and then sometimes it just like never happens, and it's just like waiting to go into production until you hit that green light amount. If you follow some of the smaller lines and smaller companies, you see that often. Some things just flounder and fail, unfortunately, because they never hit that minimum amount needed to actually move forward.
Do you expect this to be a Comic-Con tradition going forward, or is this something that may be better suited for around a WrestleMania time?
We'll explore, other timeframes. I'm sure it might be Comic-Con again. It might be Mania. It might be something else. But totally open to find, what works best. This is the first one. It worked. But if there's a better time in the year to do it, we're gonna find a sweet spot.
What kind of frequency should we expect? Are we talking maybe once a year, or is it a couple times a year for something like this?
I wouldn't expect more than one a year for WWE. I mean, you saw me doing the rounds for PR and everything like that, and that's not sustainable, right? Like that can't be multiple times a year, because there are other business priorities like running the Elite line, right? Like that's important. I wouldn't expect more than one a year. It's a very heavy lift. This isn't just a no risk, easy thing. Put it up and hope for the best situation. There's obviously investments with all the assets that are created, from the photos to the videos, to our time, to everyone who is developing it. It wasn't just like a rendering or a drawing put up there, which also takes effort. Like prototypes were built, right? So and things were being developed in China to make sure, like if we're ready to pull the the trigger to move ahead, we can easily move forward. So there is investment and risk and time. So once a year max for WWE as of right now. But there will be other items on MattelCreations.com. Retros is going to live there. So you'll see other things there as time goes by.
As far as price point goes, could this inch a little bit higher? I think you mentioned that it possibly could. Could it inch a little bit lower? Are we going to see sort of a mix in price going forward?
I doubt we would ever be sub 100. But it will definitely go higher for some things, and it could creep a little lower for other things, but it's always going to be a slightly higher price point. It's going to, if it's under 100, we could probably try to figure out a way to make it work for retail, for traditional retail.
Are there a certain number of extras for this set that are being made just in case someone gets a busted figure for whatever reason, or, their neon entranceway isn't working, or a ring post snaps, or whatever? Can we expect a little bit of extra just in case? Is there a buffer?
That is my understanding, that there will be some customer service stock. It is something that I am exploring getting like concrete answers on. And not that I can share numbers or anything like that when I do get the answers, but as far as I know, and even in conversations that I had today, there should be customer service stock available should some replacements be needed.
Well, I want to switch gears a little bit to the other Mattel Creations projects that you guys have going on. The next funding project, or not, I should say not funding project, but the Retros project, the WrestleMania 1-4 pack with Mr. T and Bob Orton and Mean Gene and Rowdy Roddy Piper. Are there details on timeline and price point at this point that you can give?
Yeah, price is going to be roughly $50, give or take a couple bucks maybe, but we're in the ballpark of $50 for 4 figures, which I think is pretty good for a non-retail retro offering. Time frame should be near the beginning of the year, right? Like I have in my head, and I almost said when I want it to be, but I'm not. I can't do that without confirmation from that team. But I want it to be as early in the year as possible. They'll be ready, and we want to make that happen. So we're going to find a time that makes sense, so we can drive some excitement and get these out as soon as possible in 2022.
What kind of frequency should we expect with retros on this? Is this a quarterly, monthly?
There'll be one in spring and one in fall in 2022.
Okay.
So obviously possibilities for expansion beyond that with success. They did, end their life and fizzle out at the end there, right? It wasn't a glorious, I know the movement was glorious, but its end at retail wasn't glorious. So we're gonna do some testing here, and I think the demand is there. And once these sell well, we can explore how we can add even more retros to the mix beyond 2022.
Just to be clear, that's 2 drops in 2022, right?
Right, 1 drop in spring and 1 drop in fall.
Okay. And then as far as the fall, can we expect another 4 figures and sort of like a similar
same execution? Yep. That's how we'll be doing it on Mattel Creations. Yep. 4 figure bundles.
I can't remember which interview it was, but you mentioned that Hogan was a possibility for this initial pack. And so I guess, can you give any details on, his removal or, his not inclusion here, and if we might be able to see him in the future?
He's on the table. We can see him in the future. Things happen, things happen sometimes with I can't even really get into it, but things happen all the time in these processes where names come in and you start something and you have to hit the pause button for a variety of reasons. And that happened with the Hogan here. We had to put the pause on him. He could appear later. Maybe it'll be a while, maybe someone better, a few better guys, not better than Hogan, but, better options, because Hogan has had, figures in this style already, right?
Yeah.
He's going to sell great as a retro. Of course, he's going to help whatever bundle he's in sell really well. But if opportunity presents itself to have, talent who are desperately in need of an upgrade, like the Roddy Piper, who it has no kilt now, right? Like that was needed, like an upgrade that makes sense, or characters who have never had them. I think they might take priority over Hogan at the moment.
On the Fig Cave podcast, you mentioned there's another WWE offering in the works for Mattel Creations. Is that correct? And anything you can share beyond the something's coming?
No. I think it's cool. I think people will dig it when they see it. You know, I don't want to give too much away, and because we want to save that for the right moment. But you know, I think when this team creates items, we want to create things that emotionally resonate with people, whether you're a fan of modern WWE or anything from the past. So, you know, I think this hits the mark, and when people see it, they'll be excited, and it will resonate with them.
And will it resonate with elite consumers, ultimate consumers, sort of in that area, or anything?
It's gonna live in that world. It's gonna
Okay.
live in that world. Yeah.
That's kind of where I was hoping to understand a little more was, you know, if I'm going to have to shell out because I'm an elite and ultimate collector. So that's my sort of wheelhouse.
I think the strategy right now is to give people what they want and what they've been asking for, or things that are at least in the wheelhouse of their existing universe, right? We could go the wacky route and do different form factors and things like that and test, you know, something new. Maybe we will at some point. But right now with this opportunity, you know, I personally want to push for things that, you know, people have been clamoring for, or that are going to complement their existing collections, rather than gamble on weird things that, or weird one-off items that don't fit what everyone's already fully invested in.
Well, Comic-Con wasn't just all about the new generation arena. You all had a great set of reveals that, you know, real life sort of took the steam out of some of them, maybe for us collectors, or at least we're hoping it didn't. You guys revealed a Bronson Reed that has that awesome Bam Bam Bigelow tribute gear. You guys revealed the Burned Up Fiend in the WWE Superstars line. You showed a Ric Flair and a Bray Wyatt in that sort of Remco style. And now, you know, real life has sort of hit, and there have been releases in WWE of those talents. Is there any updates you can sort of give us on whether we're actually going to be able to get those figures? Are they going to make it into the line? Fingers crossed.
The hope is that we can always release what we have planned, and especially what we have shown. Because when we show things, typically, I mean, sometimes we show gray model renders, and those are a little further back in development. But you know, Bronson was in color, and you know, his wave is coming soon. So anyway, the goal is to release these. We want to release them. It really just depends on the situation with the superstar and contractual status, because there are non-compete clauses and sell-off windows and things of that nature. And that's something that, you know, that we work closely with licensor with, and trying to maximize the time we have to get these out. So while I can't confirm anything yet, I can say that anytime something like this happens, we are working hand in hand with licensor to make the attempt to get these figures out to you guys, because we know that you're still excited and you still want them, and we try to make it happen. So that's in progress right now, and we're gonna try to figure it out.
How challenging is it to sort of work on a real life line like this? I mean, Marvel doesn't have to, you know, if I have the Marvel license, I don't have to worry about Spider-Man not appearing, or, you know, Captain America. But, you know, in a real life situation like a WWE or even a competing brand like AEW, if a talent is released or leaves the league, then it presents a lot of challenges.
It is challenging. It keeps us on our toes for sure. Anything can happen at any time. You think you might be safe because someone signs a deal and they're available for 5 years. But then, you know, 8 months later, like, nope, gone. So things like that happen. It's part of being on the WWE brand. And when new people come on the team, I say, like, if you can make it on this team, you can make it on any team, because it is wild. It's not like a theatrical movie where it's like, okay, the the producers give you a heads up, like this is what's going to happen. Here's some artwork, you know, base your toys off of these, and these are some of the hot characters in the movie, and then you go with it. This is like, you know, like you said, like real life, you know, things change all the time. It's fluid. That's another reason why we don't announce lineups way ahead. You know, I see those comments a lot. Why don't you just tell us the lineups as soon as you have them solidified? We want to get to a point where we're fairly sure that what we're doing is actually going to make it out, because those things get blown up on a regular basis.
Does that sort of change your approach then? Do you try, if you get a hot talent, say, you know, Hogan becomes available, or a Rob Van Dam, or whoever it might be, you know, that, you know, people have been wanting for a long time. You know, there are certain looks that everybody's wanted. You were able to bring that to fruition with the Ultimate Edition Hollywood Hogan. Does that sort of, you know, put you in overdrive to get as many of that character out as quickly as you can? It just hoping that, you know, you don't have real life hit?
Yeah, when it comes to legendary talent specifically, a few of us do try to figure out like which ones are must-dos. If this window ends for us, like what do we get out so that people feel somewhat satisfied? You know, there's always going to be a want for more, but can you look at it and say, okay, with the time that they had, like they made some things happen for us, and that's the goal, and that's what we did with Hogan. And I think, you know, after the next like year or so, you're going to see, you know, the Hogan plans come to fruition. Yeah, so we just want to maximize those. RVD was another one, like the gear that he's coming with in this Elite, like this was like a long requested gear of his, and we knew like when we got him back, we got to get this one out like ASAP.
Yeah. Are there any updates you can provide as far as the Ultimate Edition line goes? I know that we've seen a fluctuation and ebb and flow, I guess, of Hogan and Jeff Hardy pre-orders. Some came online and then they went away, and then they came online again. Do you have a more concrete timetable on when we might know when the next pre-order window is going to open there? And as far as that future schedule of fan takeover Ultimate Editions, I know there have been some changes in that. I think Shawn Michaels got pushed back a little bit. Can you provide some updates there?
So it's going to be Jeff Hardy first, followed by Hogan, followed by Warrior, then Triple H, then Shawn Michaels. So that's the new order for Fan Takeover Ultimate Edition at Amazon. In regards to the pre-order, there is an official pre-order that will be happening very soon. I want specific dates and time locked in 100% officially before I share that. Because, you know, the last thing I would want is word to spread and then things change, because, you know, obviously with these pre-orders, we've seen it time and time again, anything can happen, things can change. So, you know, it is going to happen. It is going to happen very soon. And there'll be a specific date and, you know, rough time estimate of when that's going to go down.
The Ultimate line, have you figured out sort of the balance now on, before we saw sort of a cadence of a classic superstar and a current one, and now we've seen more sort of historic characters together. I think you know, we got Austin and Flair, and we've got Kane and The Undertaker coming up. So how are you sort of working that balance between the legends and the current superstars?
You know, when that original balance was rolled out, like it's really a nice it's a nice talking point to have one contemporary talent and one legendary talent in every wave. It's a nice way to communicate the offering to a retailer and to management and, you know, the whole 9 yards. But now that it's firmly established and doing well, and the retailers that are in on it support it, we're just making the best waves we possibly can, right? So you don't need to have like that strict like 1-in-1 ratio, right? There might be a wave with 2 modern talent. There might be a wave with just legends. There might be 3 in a row with just one or the other. Whatever makes really compelling waves that are going to resonate with the consumer, that's the goal now, rather than trying to stick to a formula, because those things can handcuff you a little bit. You're like, oh man, we did Undertaker here. Wouldn't it be great to add Kane to this mix? We can't do it because this needs to be contemporary talent. Like, that sucks, right? So now that's out the window, and you have this amazing wave coming that is Kane and Undertaker together. So yeah, that's the goal. Just making great Ultimate Edition waves.
And how much does the Target exclusive help open up that window as well?
I mean, that just shows the strength of Ultimate Edition right now, right? That these retailers that want more exclusives, that they're taking these $30 plus figures as their exclusives. And the Target thing is a great opportunity because now you can expand a little bit and get even more talent out, or demanded new looks for talent. So it's a great opportunity to expand the line, and potentially even expand what talent we're offering within Ultimate Edition.
How frequent are we going to see the Target exclusive Ultimates?
Just 2 a year, for now at Target. Yep.
Okay.
So you'll have Batista basically living for a few months on Planogram, and then that'll roll into the next one that will live for the second half of the year.
Nice. The Ultimate Edition's really sort of brought on new articulation too that we hadn't seen with Elites, and that's also sort of opened up what you guys can also do with Elites. We've got butterfly joints, we've got double jointed elbows. Could we see further innovations within that line, such as separation between the at the waist, I guess, like pop the torso off and put the upper body on different legs or different lower bodies? Is that something we could see sort of enter the Ultimate Edition or even the Elite line in the future?
I think the goal is to keep improving. You mentioned both those lines have seen improvements as of late. So we're going to keep trying to do that, right? The double jointed pinless elbows is a great plus up for Elites for sure. Not only is there added posability now, but aesthetically it's even better because there's no pins anymore. Ultimates, we want to make sure that this is the most posable and playable figure on the market. When I say playable, it means like being able to recreate like every single wrestling maneuver, every entrance pose, like the whole 9 yards. So whatever we can do to keep improving that, we're gonna push the boundaries.
That's going to make a lot of figure photographers and collectors happy hearing that.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously no promises of specifics, but do we talk about it all the time? Yes. Are we always trying to figure out a way to make it work? Yes. So it's just a matter of time before things slowly get plussed up here and there.
Now, one thing that we see a lot of when you guys release a render is somebody saying Bret Hart didn't come with pink wrist tape, or he needs pink wrist tape, or these kick pads are the wrong kick pads or whatever. When someone throws out a suggestion like that, or constructive criticism, are those at that stage able to be sort of implemented if you can or want to implement them? Or is there a point of no return that we reach when we have sort of these renders?
It depends, right? Because we don't show the renders at the same time every time, if that makes sense, right? So we might show you a render that is super early on, and then we might show you a render late in the game, right? So that drastically changes ability to change things. You also have to consider licensor approval. Sometimes there's talent approval, foreign IP, right? If there's another IP involved and we have to change things because of that. So there's a whole slew of things. Part compatibility, sometimes parts just aren't compatible. Sometimes we do suggest certain combinations to our development partners over in China, and they're just like, these parts aren't truly compatible, right? Not always the case, but it does happen. So sometimes we can change them, sometimes we can't. I will say, them coming to me, I do look for like the most impactful issues, like the Gargano boots, right? Like that was a recurring issue. That is something we can correct, and going forward, like that's something we can fix. So that's something I pressed hard to fix. If there's like a deco thing or whatever that we can change, that is within the realm of possibility, I do. But there is a lot of comments like that on adjusting it and correcting things or making something just to someone's likes. And it's difficult because I'm not design, and I can't just pull the trigger and change it myself. And it just becomes me repitching to design to change all their work constantly. And just think if someone were to do that to you, how awkward that could be, all the time. So I really try to choose my battles with those things, and make them more impactful when I do request certain changes.
Well, I appreciate the battles you do fight for us. So thank you, Steve. As far as the next set of WWE.com galleries where we get to see all the images of what's to come, do you have an idea of when the next one might be on the way?
We've been trying to do them monthly, so I'm hoping there will be a set in August.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up here, I just want to say, thank you for doing this, and thank you for, really pushing hard on the arena and really hitting the podcast and the media circuit here. You've done, the Turnbuckle Tavern, and you've done Fig Cave, and you've done Fully Posable. Basically every podcast you could get on, you or Ravishing Robert made the effort and got out there and really pushed the project. So thanks for all your hard work and, your willingness to talk to the community.
Of course. Rob and I are in it with you guys. So it's just a natural extension for us to do these. If there are any podcasts or whatever that we couldn't get to, apologies. There's only so much that we can humanly accomplish. But more opportunities in the future for us to all chat together. And I do just want to say the campaign is still open until August 22nd. So you can still get an amazing new generation arena, which is the neon entrance, the properly scaled ring, the Ultimate Edition Diesel figure, the Ultimate Edition Doink figure, and the extra ring skirts for $250. Still an amazing opportunity to get that item. So if you're interested, please head over to mattelcreations.com before 8/22 and continue to unlock the arena.
I love the hard sell. Thanks again, man, for doing this. I really do appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me, answer all these questions, and really just, take a well-deserved victory lap. I hope you get some rest now.
My pleasure, Justin. Thank you.